we look towards the music industry and video entertainment world, which has gone through its own journeys, and inevitably that was how it got to a point where it had to be, the model had to change for it to be viable and for basically piracy to not be as prevalent, as valuable anymore in the eyes of the consumer. So inevitably that seems like the most logical route to reduce the need and the impact that piracy does have. But we've still got a long way to go to get to a place where that is achievable. And in both, in the instance of music, it was only because Spotify found a way to bridge that. And I think sports has got that similar predicament where these rights, the way that rights are approached now and today, how do you retrofit all that to get everyone on board? And Spotify had to go through a lot to find a way to get everyone to get on the boat, so to speak. So I think that's going to be really, really tricky. But I think it's the only real way that piracy would ever have a true sort of what would you call it, like an end point, I suppose, to what it's doing now in sports. So, and for now, it's just going the other direction. There is no light really at the end of the tunnel there. I think what Paul and MediaKind and lots of other companies are doing is to try and mitigate and reduce those losses and impact, and really slow down that impact or minimize as much as possible. And that's all we can really be thinking about now, rather than trying to say, hey, we're going to solve it. No one is going to solve it magically.
I think there's also a perceived value for fans as well. So if the cost is being perceived as expensive, that often just means that people aren't actually seeing they're getting value from the service that they're accessing. And again, this is something we saw in an RFP recently, where I think it was third on the list of their requirements or their challenges was, there's a service in market today, but it's being perceived by the fans as being expensive. So, how do you handle that? Well, if you can give them more value for money, if you can give them additional features and functionality, they're more likely to actually think, oh yeah, I don't mind paying for this because I'm getting value for money. I don't mind paying $10.99 a month for Netflix because I perceive it as good value for money. So it's also, what can you do in that area to, give fans the perception of value for money? Obviously, great content is a starting point. Having the event available is one thing. So the things like, highlights. Are the highlights available on there? Are they available immediately after the match? As a fan, can I go in and rewatch the game if I've missed it immediately as soon as it finishes, or am I having to wait 3 or 4 hours? If I've got to wait 3 or 4 hours, that's not good. We've recently introduced multi-view with one of our customers, which is available on all their consumer devices, including smart TVs, which is something that traditionally wasn't available because the devices didn't have the processing power. And the result is that they've seen a huge reduction in their amount of churn, because all of a sudden consumers are getting what was previously a premium high-end feature on all of their devices. So it's a nice way for them to interact with the sports they're watching, and they really, really like it.
I think that's a really great example, and it got me thinking, the one big subscription service I pay for from a sports perspective is the NFL Game Pass. For me, Sky's obviously got it on there. I've got access to Sky, but I want to specifically watch the Cincinnati Bengals. So part of it is I can watch the team I want. It's also got NFL Red Zone, which I argue is maybe the best sports product in the world. But the feature that's really important for me that I want to pay for is I've gotten older, the less likely I am to watch the Bengals play a Monday night game where they're going to break my heart. So there's no point in me staying up till 5 a.m. What I think Delta Trade initially put into the platform and DAZN's carried on, which is where I get value, is to your point, being able to watch the game afterwards. And not only do they have the full game replay, they also do a 40-minute recap where it's literally from one play ends, next play ends. There's no commercials. There's nothing else. And for me, my travel time into work is about 45 minutes. So the fact that I can wake up, download the game on my phone so that I don't have to worry about being on the tube, no service, and I can watch the Bengals game the night before, it's what you're talking about right there. It's an additional layer of service or features that then all of a sudden I don't mind the cost that I'm paying, because it's not a cheap subscription, but it has enough features within it, and particularly that download the game from the night before. It's an incredible feature for me that justifies the cost that I spend on it.